And we are back with part 2 of Grandia II Electric Boogaloo. Next up on the list we have Nightmare Village Mirumu, A Good Unknown Anxiety. So Max and I ranked it almost the exact same position, so I think we both enjoyed this track. Steve, what were your reasons for ranking this one a little bit lower? You put this like mid-bottom?
Yeah, I put this one mid-bottom. This was a weird one to me. So there's a traditional English folk song called Captain Kidd about the pirate Captain Kidd, and there is a Canadian folk band who mostly cover traditional Newfoundland folk songs, but also have a cover of Captain Kidd that sounds basically exactly like this song at the beginning. Like, just the song starts off and it's like, oh, shoot, Great Big Sea, I love the song. My name is... Oh, no, this is a different song. Wait, what's with these weird Middle Eastern instruments all of a sudden? Oh, that's weird to put in your Nightmare Village.
Yeah,
just seemed disjointed and weird overall.
I don't know. One of the things with JRPG soundtracks is very weird, disjointed instrumentation that seems to make no sense. Uematsu and like some of his stuff in like the Final Fantasy 7 and 8 soundtracks is just off the wall bizarre. So mixing those kind of things together doesn't bother me because I'm so used to that with the genre. Kind of like how you listen to enough hair metal, you're like, all right, yep, dumb lyrics about sex. Okay, moving on.
Is this nightmares and somebody's actually having a nightmare and there's like a dream sequence, or is it actually like the evil village?
Each of the villages, each of the places you come to is basically cursed in a different way by Velmar. So basically each one of them has like a creepy undertone to it. That's why a lot of these there are very few town melodies in this that sound flat out happy. You'll notice that like 90% of them have some sort of undercurrent of like hunger and fear to it.
Oh.
See, this soundtrack I actually thought was very bouncy and light overall, where like I think Final Fantasy VII soundtrack did a really good job of like a melancholy undertone to the atmosphere, but this soundtrack to me felt like oh, this must be a pretty lighthearted RPG. I wonder if like anything bad happens in it, because seems like
horrible things happen.
Seems like it's just like a giant party. Like, let's all just go and listen to some Bon Jovi and Poison and, you know, drink some brews and, you know, we'll maybe beat like the final boss.
Maybe the final boss will just come party with us. Yeah, definitely nobody dies horribly. That's
maybe the final boss just wants to party. Let's put on a Maiden record and just like, you know, chat about life.
I picture Velmar beer. I picture Velmar coming back to life like, guys, look, I've been slumbering for 800 years. I just want a sweet brewski. Can you guys toss me one? Like, thanks, Velmar. Let's party.
Yeah, just like Velmar just wants to debate the merits of like Dickinson versus Diano. Like, look, I know like Dickinson's the better known vocalist, but the first 2 Diano albums are the best stuff they ever did.
See, I was thrown off for a second there when you said Dickinson versus Diano. I was like, is that one of the Bronte sisters that I'm not familiar with? Or
yeah, I thought you were going the litter. I worked at a bookstore for 7 years,
yeah,
so
right.
my brain went to book mode.
No, I wasn't talking about the lesser Emily in my literature life.
I mean, alternatively, Emily Dickinson versus, you know, Diano.
You know what? I'd be down for that. That's what a ridiculous concept. Emily Dickinson versus Paul Diano.
Who would win in a fight?
Probably Paul Diano. But also, I don't want to think about Paul Diano hitting women. That's just...
Here's the trick is he might win the fight, but then he'd get tuberculosis and die.
All right, so... Nightmare Village, transitioning back into that before...
I understood that reference.
Once again, you know, all of these town songs are pretty good, pretty catchy. I enjoy the melodies. This one has a little bit more of that sense of darkness that you were talking about. I think some of the other town songs don't give off that creepy vibe. This one does a little bit better, but it's still... pretty bouncy overall.
Na Town definitely gives off that dark vibe. We already discussed.
But yeah, next up on the list, we have Steve's favorite track from the album. I ranked it pretty low, 6th from the bottom. So we have Collapse. This falls in the same line as Valmar for me, where this is stock JRPG soundtrack for me. Like, this is the kind of, stuff where you go to royalty-free music to put on your YouTube video, and this is one that sounds like it would fit. It's very generic for me. There is nothing of note in this track. I'm sure it's fine in the scene that it's in, but musically, nothing much to it for me.
I like that it sounds like a cheesy chase scene. It has like a lot of like a very, very quick tempo to it when it gets going, and I kind of like the fact that it just sounds like a bunch of cartoon characters running away, but done with more orchestral instruments, more like horns and strings. But I like it.
This might be the most dated song on the soundtrack for me, where just like, hey, play me something from a JRPG in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, this is just fits so well within just the tropes and the styles and the instrumentation. The cheesy MIDI. Like, oh man, this is
cheesy MIDI.
If I'm recommending this soundtrack to someone and I want to make them hate it right away, this is the song I have them listen to. This isn't one of the songs I would recommend to someone who you're trying to sincerely get to enjoy this soundtrack. I think this might leave a bad first impression. If this was the first track you heard, you're like, really? You like this soundtrack? I'm like, no, trust me, it's really good. There's a lot of good stuff on. So that's just my thoughts on it. Steve, why do you like it so much?
So I'll be honest. By the time I got to this point in the soundtrack, I was phoning in a little bit because I was like, all right, I just got to get this done. Because, I listen to these while I'm at work, so the more attention I focus on listening to the music, the less attention I'm paying to work, which is a problem. So at this point, I was really tuning out a little bit, and I basically just said, I'm going to assume this is Genghis Tron's Colony Collapse, which is a really great cyber grind song. So 10 out of 10 stars.
And that's why I'm the musical leader of the band. All right.
It's fair.
Next up on the list, we have Despair and Hope.
I thought this one was pretty. Put it towards the top.
Yeah. Solid melodies. The first half of the song does a really good sense of grabbing the emotion of despair, and the second half is very hopeful. So the title fits very well. I feel like this is another one that's stronger in the context of the game, but as a standalone listen, still very good. This one reminds me a little bit of Final Fantasy 13 soundtrack with the really emotive strings. And given that I like that soundtrack a lot, gets a thumbs up from me.
I'd forget. This one was MIDI, not recorded, right?
I'm not sure.
Sure.
I'm listening right now, and it sounds pretty recorded to me.
Okay, it's live violins and things.
Yeah, because MIDI violins, you can tell right away because they sound terrible. Like I've only heard one good MIDI. I've only heard one good MIDI violin sample, and thankfully I got to use it on a few recordings. But for the most part, MIDI strings are awful.
I like this song a lot. Just because this is one I would actually say sounds a lot more like a stereotypical JRPG thing, just because I feel like every JRPG has that one really dramatic cutscene where it's like, oh my gosh, the world is falling apart. And
we are at the end of Act 2. Let us begin Act 3.
Well, exactly. It's stereotypical JRPG, but like this is the good stereotypes of JRPG. Like Collapse was, here's like the bad tropes. Like this is what you expect from a low budget JRPG where they rushed the music. This is like, okay, this is why people like the genre. This stereotype. It's still very tropey, but this is a better trope, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. But I definitely, even though it is stereotypical, I actually really dig it.
All right, next up on the list, we have the first of the fight songs on our ranking. We have Fight Version 2.
Yes, man, heck yeah!
I can find this one.
Like all the fight songs in this game just blow my mind. They're so good.
The fight songs. So what's interesting about the fight songs in this game is that a lot of them really blend together for me, and it's harder for me to pick them out because they're pretty similar. And the vibes are pretty similar. The instrumentation is very similar. The melodies are similar. And they don't necessarily feel much more dramatic than the others. Like, all of them sort of have the same level of tension. You know, some might be a little bit more intense, but for the most part, they're all around the same. So it's harder to pick between them because they're so similar in vibe. And this one, I think, had the least, you know, it's still ranked high on my list, so it's still very good. But in compared to the other fight songs, this one had the least noticeable things that grabbed me in comparison to the other ones. So I don't want to get too much into it. You know, when we get to those songs, I'll talk about them more. But this song was good, but it wasn't like sufficiently more epic than the main fight scene to give me additional tension. And the melody wasn't strong enough for it to override any of the other fight scenes for me either.
I love version 2 just because I feel like it's the one where the psychedelic keyboard really stands out the most for me. I mean, it really sounds like that dude is dancing across the entire keyboard. It is just so balls to the wall, and I love that about it.
Yeah, this guy definitely likes Deep Purple. There is no doubt about it. This dude is like, man, can I please just work with Ian Gillan? Pretty please. Especially on another track, which we'll get to. I got to save that joke when we get to that song. Steve, do you have any comments on Fight version 2?
Well, I've been spending this entire time consulting my notes and frantically Googling because it occurs to me that I labeled both Fight version 1 and Fight version 2 as Fight.
Oh, I figured out which they were based upon your notes. So whichever one you ranked as 14th from the bottom.
Yeah, so that's what I was looking up, is because I don't remember for sure which one was which. I had to look it up, based on context. But yeah, so this is the one I ranked lowest of all the Fight songs. I did find it kind of amusing that it was sort of like a chip funk vibe, which is interesting choice for fight music. I think I docked at some points just in terms of album flow. It's a bit too much of mood whiplash from after Garden of Dreams.
Oh yeah.
But I think in context of the game, it was probably a really good song that would have been a lot of fun. So if I'd played the game, I'd be like, yes, chip funk, I'm into this, let's do this. But as an album listening experience, separate from the game, pretty meh.
Well, next up on the list, we have my favorite song from the soundtrack. A song that almost moved me to tears that I thought was so beautiful, Romance at a Windy Isle. So, I read your notes on this, Steve, so I know you have some snarky comments. So before you get snarky and, pummel me to the ground, allow me to get sincere for a moment.
All right. I don't have any, sincere drops.
This song, it's, once again, this is a very tropey kind of song for JRPGs. The slow piano ballad, with like a very strong melody on top. This song reminds me very much of my wife. I haven't played the game. I haven't seen the context of the scene that it's in. But this song just, reminds me of my wife and how much I love her and how much I love spending my life with her. And, she loves the beach. And so it reminds me of just a night on the beach, just the two of us listening to the waves in each other's arms and just, being in love and just the beauty of romance. And so when I first heard this song, I was enjoying the soundtrack. Like, yeah, this is pretty solid. But this song stopped me dead in my tracks and I just adored it. And I wondered, if it would still stick with me as I, give the soundtrack multiple listens. And I thought, oh, well, maybe just it got me in the right mood. And if I listen to the soundtrack again, I'll still like it. But, I'll probably like one of the fight songs more or something else more than it. But this song just struck such a chord with me and it was so beautiful. I had to rank it as the number one song. I love it. I think this is one of the greatest pieces of video game music ever done. It's emotive. It's beautiful. I love it. And I'm kind of glad I heard it without the context of the game so I can have that special emotional connection to it first. And then when I do play the game, I'm sure I'll love it then, but I'm glad I heard it in the context I did. All right, Steve, rip me to shreds.
Okay, so with these video game soundtracks, one of the very first things I actually do is I research the technology of the platform to sort of figure out what the constraints they were working with are, because that's the really interesting part to me. Is, I'm a computer programmer and I like music and I like chiptunes and exploring that space to see what the constraints are. So you might notice that this particular album flips back and forth between like fully pre-recorded music and MIDI music. So Dreamcasts had 64-channel audio and could do either the MIDI thing, where each of those channels basically contained a MIDI instrument playing, and that's very, very compact space-wise, because instead of having to actually record a lot of music, you record just a few samples per channel that, take up several hundred to several thousand bytes, and then the data for turning those channels on and off and setting notes, which is single bytes per instance, compared to full audio, which is, a megabyte per minute kind of thing. Or is it 10 megabytes per minute? I think MP3s might be 1 megabyte per minute. So the disc was about a gigabyte, which meant that you could put an entire soundtrack like this on your video game disc, but that would take up so much of your usable space, up to a third of it. Mm-hmm. And that's even if you compress your music pretty heavily. If you used MP3s, you'd have to pay more licensing fees back in the 90s, and it would still take up a sixth of your space. So a soundtrack like this, they're flipping back and forth between MIDI sequenced music, which is compact but doesn't quite sound as realistic, and pre-recorded music, which sounds more realistic but takes up a lot more space, and, just allocating resources as they need to. All of the vocal stuff, of course, has to be pre-recorded, and there's some instances where they intertwine MIDI and pre-recorded music, which are fairly clever if they have, like, just a couple vocal samples in something. This song is all pre-recorded, and it's flute and piano. And flutes are one of the few instruments that MIDI flutes sound good, because a flute played correctly is going to be very close to a sine wave, which is very easy to replicate in software. So I just found it kind of ironic that they took all this space for flute. I mean, yes, because they had to match it up with piano, but I just found that kind of amusing. It didn't really have anything to do with this song per se. It's just that I needed to talk about technology at some point in this podcast, and this was when it came up to me.
So this is the duality of us in Lipstick. I am the one who feels emotion and sincerity, and Steve's like, but yeah, check out the software, bro.
And I'm a robot.
I could program you to cry.
All those moments lost.
It
Tears in the rain.
The only reason this song was very, very, very low on the list for me, and it's not that it's a bad song, it's that it felt so much more forced, of like, we're going to have this scene, so we have to have this style of song, of like, okay, if characters are going to be meeting in a chapel and it's like sort of a romantic wedding-y style setup, we are required to have that wedding-y style song. And so while all the rest feel like they were built around a situation, and the fight music particularly feels so unique, this is the only one on the track. This is the only track on the entire album that felt like they just like had to check a box, and that's the only reason I put it so low.
Romantic song, check. Fight songs, 1 through 3, check. Villain song, check.
I understand how tropey it is, but I think just the strength of the composition is what does it for me. And it's the way I look at it is like, if you have that romance scene, if that's just in the plot, you got to write music that's appropriate for it. And I assume it's appropriate in the context of the game, but like I said, I'm so glad I heard it in the context I did, so I could have my own association with it. Next up on the list, we have Purification of Darkness, Battle with the Parts. So another fight song, not fight 1, 2, 3, or 4, but a separate. I don't know why they couldn't just call this fight 4 and the other one fight 5, but whatever. I think this is one of the stronger battle songs. This is, I think, the most epic feeling of all the battle songs for me. This or the final battle, I think, are the most epic, but this definitely feels like, yeah, this is a boss battle. I'm fighting like a piece of this demon, and like it definitely feels very important and different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is just a very cool tune.
It is a boss theme specifically, and yeah, I like it a lot. I like it, especially in the context of the game, because they definitely it feels a little bit quieter in general. Like, while it is a hardcore song, I like that it's a little bit quieter, and it gives a lot of the sound effects in the battle itself and the trash talk between the characters time to shine over top of it. It's one of those, like, it's that delicate balance of sometimes you need less of a song to make more of a song, and it actually hits that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very successful. This was one of the songs that stuck out when I first heard it. And so I definitely noticed the quality of this tune right away, even more so than some of the songs I ranked higher than it. This was one of the runs that was right away, I recognized the strength of the composition.
I thought this one was a solid epic battle song. Put it towards the top. It was good.
All right, so next up on the list, we have the Saintheim Papal State, Highest Believer, aka another solid town tune.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good town song.
Was this a town song? I thought this was the Pope's theme.
I think this is a town. Is Pius was which one? Which one is
this
the
is
country?
Saintheim Papal State.
Yeah,
People.
People state.
Yeah, I don't know. They're all good. There are several different churchy, since religion is a heavy concept in this. It is probably one of the church songs, but there are also certain church towns. But I thought this was one of the church or one of the town themes, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean,
I just thought this was a weirdly chipper Pope.
Yeah,
This Pope is so jolly.
Yeah, that's why I got this as like just a town theme that was very bouncy. This one is another one of those ones that musically, fits very well into like those Bandai Atlas games of the same era. Would have fit very well into one of those soundtracks. And so because I have nostalgia towards that, I ranked this one pretty high. Where maybe if I didn't have the nostalgia for it, it wouldn't have resonated with me as much as it did, but because of that, I ranked it pretty near the top. So, good tune. But next up, we have one with some discrepancy because Steve hates castles. We have the Serum or Sirum. Is it Serum or Sirum?
The Serum Kingdom?
Yeah. Well, no, it's we have the Serum Castle next.
Okay. Is it called Prosperity and Freedom?
Not that one. We've got the big harpsichordy one next.
Okay. Oh, Siren Castle, I see, yeah.
This is straight up just MIDI harpsichord. I dug it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, yes, bring on the MIDI harpsichord. This is great. I'm loving this melody. I'm loving the MIDI harpsichord. Just keep it coming. The only flaw with this track is that it wasn't 8 minutes. This was great.
Yeah, it's only about 90 seconds. I like this one a lot, too, because it is just so straightforward in a way of just being like, yeah, we're just going to put some cool MIDI harp in here and eat it up or don't,
Yeah, I mean, harpsichord is one of those instruments that generally doesn't do it for me. It's a very silly sounding instrument in almost any context.
How do you not like harpsichord? You're into high fantasy. Like that is the instrument of choice.
Yeah, and when I read Tolkien, I skip over the elf songs.
What?
Dang. Delete yourself.
Elf songs, they're boring.
Delete yourself.
But yeah, this was a particularly bad MIDI harpsichord.
I actually thought it was good tone-wise. I thought it was a really good MIDI harpsichord for the era. I was impressed with it. Like, wow, this sounds pretty good. I enjoyed it, good sir.
I think it's Boris is the name of the metal band. They're the only ones who are allowed to use harpsichord.
Yeah, I don't know. I dug this melody. I dug just everything about it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I too enjoy high fantasy. Why are you laughing?
Sorry,
Steve?
I just flipped over to the no. I'm thinking of the wrong band. Boris is a different metal band, but turns out Boris is also known as Fang's Anal Satan.
Okay,
That's good. That's my street nickname.
They call me Fangs, anal Satan in the street. Boris in the sheet.
You know what? I don't even have a clever transition for that. I'm just moving on to the next one. We have Serum. There we go. Serum Kingdom, Prosperity and Freedom next on the list.
I don't buy it. That was my take on this song, was where it was positioned in the album. They're like, Serum Kingdom, Prosperity and Freedom. Like, no, this is another pretense of prosperity song, isn't it? They're lying to everybody. There's a secret undercurrent of, I don't know, enslaved children or something driving this fake economy, isn't there?
This is actually where you recruit the little kid to join your party, who's like the magic user. I kind of like this song in general. I put it really low on my list though, just because I just don't like it as much as several of the other town themes. This is the only one that just feels like it's trying to be super goofy and happy-go-lucky, is how it struck me, and I didn't really care for that.
I mean, I enjoy it. I'm a pretty happy guy, so I'm like, yeah, I could whistle to this while walking around.
Yeah.
See myself walking around a Castle City, just having a good day, bright sunshine. So I don't know.
Think of the enslaved digital children, Greg. That's it. I did put the song pretty well in the middle. I thought it was pretty all right.
Yeah, so this is like the New York City. No, you know what? This is Nashville.
Yeah.
So it's like, everything's great.
Bachelorette party. Woo!
Look at those housing prices. Bachelorette parties.
They have those kids slaving away in the mines, the digital kids in the Bitcoin mines. It's terrible.
Right. Slaving away in the country music mines.
Exactly.
We need 30 friends in low places. Stat. Dig harder.
Gross. Next up on the list, we have Come On, Let's Travel.
Yeah, I like this one.
Is this like the world map theme? Is there a world map in this game?
There is not. This is actually very interesting. This is one of the first RPGs of this era that did not have a world map. It's like Final Fantasy X, where you're always walking from place to place directly. There is a world map, and you do see it occasionally, but it's basically just like you beat the forest and you're about to go to the mountains, so it'll show you like on a map and like show your character like as a little symbol move to the next area. But you're
like Indiana Jones style.
I actually don't know enough about Indiana Jones to get that reference.
Oh, whenever whenever they're flying, that pops up a map and then it shows like a dotted line moving across.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
They did that in Final Fantasy X also.
Yeah, exactly. So very much, I always thought the Final Fantasy X sort of was playing on the Grandia style of like...
They just ripped it off.
Yeah, like you were walking exactly from place to place. But when there's basically like zones between zones occasionally where you're like on a trail between two like big landmarks. This is the song that plays on those trails.
All right, well, I think it's once again, another bouncy, catchy tune.
It was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. If there was a world map in this game, it'd be the world map song. I think it would fit well into that position. All right. Now, next up on the list, we have a song that I think is fantastic. You guys rank this one towards the middle, but this is great. Which, next up on the list, You Won't Be Able to Kill Me Just Like That. Man,
oh, yeah.
This tune is great. I'm a sucker for good shonen tropes. So just like overconfident, young male protagonist, like, I'm the best. I'm going to, pursue my dreams. Mm-hmm. Just like your Narutos and Gokus. Just like that kind of dude and that kind of confidence and swagger. And like this song is like, yep, I just won a battle. Aren't I awesome? I'm totally awesome because I won this battle.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah. I totally dug it.
I thought it was a bit too triumphant.
Well, you're not as triumphant as a person as I am.
I was like, man, all right, you survived. Cool. Like, chill, dude. Save the triumph for a later, more important battle.
Well, maybe because I've survived a bunch of battles. Like, shoot, I didn't know if I was going to live. Maybe that's why I'm resonating with this. Like, yeah, I didn't die. Good triumph for the day.
You should only play your super triumphant song when you survive important battles, like that time you got stabbed, not just like, I don't know, the time you fought a dude in the street.
But I mean, the dude in the street pulled a gun on me.
Okay, well, that'll probably fly.
Like, that's it. You won't be able to kill me just like that. I'm actually imagining that song playing after I decked the dude who pulled a gun on me. And that is very hilarious.
Especially if you saw the poses that Ryudo does. He's just such a cocky dude. They call mercenaries in this world geohounds. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times he's like, that's what you get for messing with a geohound. And he stands there like Superman. It's like, oh, that's a lot of cheese. I like it.
Next time, hopefully this doesn't happen again. But if I ever get mugged again and I deck the dude, I'm going to say, that's what you get for messing with a geohound.
Yeah, he's going to like, oh my God, I attacked an anime character.
Once again, I hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, I'm going to say that. All right, speaking of over-the-top shonen tropes, next up is Have Faith in Yourself, a.k.a. the training montage song. Straight up, this song, like, if you just put this in Rocky IV, Stallone's going up the mountain working out, I could totally see this fit in just as a great training montage tune. And this one, I really felt like there was a strong melody and sort of like a pop song structure to this one.
Yeah.
And I felt like and I think Steve felt the same way, where if this song feels like it was meant to have lyrics and be a song as opposed to just a track on a game soundtrack. This felt more like a believe in yourself, training montage, shonen kind of hero song. And, if anyone, knows my music, that's kind of what I'm all about, is that shtick. Believe in yourself, follow your dreams, also work out. So
it's basically exactly what I said, but I also qualified it with, no, Greg, Lipstick is not going to cover this song.
Yeah, in the notes he put, no, Greg, we're not covering this song. Don't even ask. And I laughed when I saw that, because oh, he knows what I was thinking.
I think this is when you start getting the full party going and you actually start climbing this giant mountain in the story. And that's why I really like it, because it feels extra fitting for that sort of scenario of like having this really chipper, really motivated tune of being like, hell yeah, like we got it going. Like we're finally full stride, Yeah,
I mean, hey, musically, I think, this was, I think my number 2 on the list. So this, I've been listening to this soundtrack when working out this past week. And when I'm jogging, I get a little extra stride when this song is on. I'm like, all right, I got to listen to this one 3 times in a row, because this is really getting my jog going well. So
getting my jog going. I was misreading the list. I read this is your 45 favorite song. I was like, whoa, that's so low. Oh wait,
a bit harsh.
No, this is such a great workout song. If you haven't worked out to this tune, guys, this is the training montage song for your life. This song right here, Get Ripped. All right, next up on the list, we have Valmar's Moon.
Yeah.
All right, so this one is a great example of what I was talking about earlier, where the soundtrack feels like it was made by a drummer. Because this one, you lock into that groove so hard. And if you like that groove, this song is all about the groove. And I liked it. And I fully got sucked into it. I'm like, yeah, burn. I was, bopping my head to it, like, oh yeah, I'm feeling it. Song's got a little fire to it. I'm jamming. I'm having a good time. Bad guy's probably going to summon a demon or something, but hey, it's a funky demon. Got some good bass to it. I dig it.
Yeah, and that's why I really like this one a lot too. This is actually one of my highest ones. I think this is number 2 on my list. This is number 2 on my list, and the reason I put it so high is that it just has such a raw groove to it. I really like it. It's one of those things that I could seriously have on the background at a party, I feel like, and people would definitely be like, yeah, I'm not sure what this is for, but, somebody's either about to get punched in the face, do cocaine, or just play Mario, and no matter what, it'll be fitting.
I love that description. What I'll say about this is the entire thing is basically just one riff, but it's a good riff.
Yeah.
So that's the part that threw me is I was into that bass riff. That came on. I was like, wow, this is really good. I can't wait to see where this song goes. And then it didn't go anywhere. It just kind of did the same thing. It's like, it needs something more.
I totally get that. I understand wanting more from it and wanting it to go somewhere. Totally get that. But man, I locked into that groove so much. You know what? I want this to go somewhere else. but I'm so happy with this groove, I'm going to give it a pass. Next up on the list, we have In Town Aegir, or however you pronounce that, Aegir. In Town Aegir, Cursed Land.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here.
This is another one where my notes are all jokes.
All right, well, start us off, buddy.
My take on this was like, it's an so I wasn't sure how to interpret in town. Like, is this a town theme or is this an inn theme or
it's
both?
a town with a bunch of inns. It's like there's a bunch of hotels.
It's like every city has its own industry. This one is just hotels.
Yeah,
it's like Dickerson.
Okay. But like, I found it a little weird that if it's the inn theme, it's got this funk bass line and these smooth glissandoed sawtooth leads.
Dude, it's like Dickerson.
Yeah, this is an interesting sounding inn. I suspect this game is rated T for sexy towns.
Yeah, it'd be a damn shame if you slept in this town with all these cursed ladies. This is the cursed land. Yeah, I like this. I put this pretty high on my list. I like it. It's one of the first major towns that it is just basically a giant hotel in the middle of the nowhere. But I like it. It's kind of I don't know. It really kind of inspires that like feeling like grander things are on the horizon. And I love any video game soundtrack that has that one song that sort of like basically. It feels like they're pulling back the arrow to show how far this game's going to go. And I feel like In Town, Cursed Land really does that.
Igor, that's the name of the metal band I was thinking. Sorry, it came to me, and they're allowed to play harpsichords.
Fair enough. Once again, good melody, catchy, usually enough to do it for me. But next up on the list, we have perhaps the most metal song on the soundtrack. We have Dangerous Zone, which straight up is just...
We all know what Dangerous Zone is.
Straight up, this is just a Deep Purple song.
Rode into the Dangerous Zone.
The screaming in the background of this song sounds just like Ian Gillan. So much so that I wonder if they hired Ian Gillan for this, the same way they hired him for Blue Dragon to sing Eternity. I'm just like, did they get Ian Gillan for this too? But yeah, this is just all kinds of ridiculous. This is just shred guitars, and then they have that piano breakdown. This is a Deep Purple cut. That's just all this is.
It's so good. I love this song, and so this isn't my favorite song on the track, but it's damn near the entire like top of my list. But it's the one that I would show people if I wanted to give them just a single vertical slice as to why I love the Grandia 2 soundtrack, because it is just such a wild track with like screaming and guitar and just so much going on at once. It's definitely it's like a huge bite out of a burger of just like, here's all the flavors at once. That's why I love it.
I could probably play this for Deep Purple fans. They might not know it isn't the band. So that's another positive plus. I mean, this is a song, the way that a couple tracks ago with Valmar's Moon, Steve was saying he wanted the song to build a bit more. This was a song where I really wanted a little bit more melody from it, but still very, very solid tune. Next up on the list, we have Grandia Saber.
Yeah,
that's how it's pronounced.
Grandia Saber.
It's Granus, but but you're good.
Yeah, whatever. If you are angry with my pronunciation, please comment below.
Like and subscribe if you're mad at us.
Yeah, the best way to you should hate watch every episode chronologically.
Yes,
several times. Share them with your friends to also hate watch.
So, this once again, this is a very heroic sounding song. This is, building up. This looks like towards the end of the first act, and things are on an upswing for the heroes. Got a legendary weapon of some sort, and let's go take on the bad guy. Do heroic things.
Yep, that was the vibe I got from it. Finish out disc 1 on a high point.
All kinds of hero stuff. And so, I mean, I like heroes. I lean more towards heroes than bad guys. I enjoy those characters more, and this felt like a good heroic tune.
It did, and I really like that it sort of reminds me of like flying around. Like when it sounds so much like an airship track in Final Fantasy. They always have that moment of like Final Fantasy VII. You finally get the high wind and you're flying around with it, and it finally plays that like you are on a freaking airship, bro. And this feels like that.
You know what? Yeah, I totally. If this was an airship theme, would fit in perfectly. Yeah, I just love how heroic and triumphant it sounds. This one, kind of sounds like almost like a Legend of Zelda tune in terms of composition, where I think it would fit in really well in like a really triumphant part of one of those games.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It definitely has that like marching up the mountain through the clouds kind of feel to it.
All right, next up on the list, we have Fight version 4, the final battle.
Yes.
So, once again, had I known that you were fighting Robo-Pope...
No, the Pope is only one part of Robo-Satan.
Right. If I had known you were fighting Robo-Satan Pope...
Spoiler alert again.
Spoiler alert again.
We're going to have to edit that for when you said the next 30 seconds need to be skipped to avoid spoilers, to be like the next hour and a half.
Here's the trick. I feel like if you're listening to this episode, you probably played the game.
Yeah.
Or you're us.
I mean, the statute of limitations.
It's like when people got really upset with me when Infinity War came out, which, spoilers, I guess, when Thanos did Thanos things by killing everybody. Like, you know how this character has one gimmick? And how he's famous for one thing? Guess what? He did the thing in the movie. Spoilers, dude! Like, all right?
Well, it's like, Gwen Stacy in the Spider-Man comics. Gwen Stacy is only famous because she dies. So when people are mad and people talk about Gwen Stacy dying in the Spider-Man movie, it's like that's literally all she does.
Right.
Like, that character is made to die.
Gwen Stacy is famous for dying. Thanos is famous for killing. That
sounds like the setup for a terrible rom-com, Greg. She's famous for dying. He's famous for killing.
Yeah.
But will they be able to find true love?
I'd watch the Thanos Gwen Stacy
Rob
crossover.
Schneider is Thanos and Gwen.
She can't stay alive, and he can't stop from tearing her hair out. Will they be able to pay rent? Find out on the next episode.
Oh, the more we talk about this, the more I want it to exist.
I know, right?
But yeah, that final battle theme, pretty epic, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My only complaint with this one was like, this was a good epic final battle scene. I listened to it on headphones, and those cymbals were kind of rough, but otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, once again, all these fight songs are good. This one is sufficiently epic and a lot of good shonen affectations. Like, I haven't seen a lot of newer shonen shows, but I feel like my stereotypes of what My Hero Academia is, I haven't seen a single second of that show. Mm-hmm. But I'm stereotyping that show and thinking this song would fit in a fight scene. And
maybe a little bit.
I mean, I'm probably wrong. But based upon me just looking at pictures of it, like, yeah, sure, this seems pretty shonen. I'm down with it. All right, but next up on the list, we're moving to something very different tonally, from an epic fight scene to Ah Deus. Ah Deus. Dun, dun. This very good vocal track, very good melody, very beautiful sounding. This is, I was surprised to see it so early in the soundtrack. Mm-hmm. Because this seemed like something that would really be impactful late game, but I feel like this is one of those things that's really setting the atmosphere and feel for the world and giving a grander sense of adventure, importance, and weight, where a lot of the other tracks seem very lighthearted. This song, there feels like there's more emotional depth to it. We're like, hey, no, take this story seriously. There's going to be some layers to it. And I enjoyed it quite a bit.
It's great. I think the soundtrack is a little bit misleading. I think some of these tracks are a little bit out of order from how they appear in the game. So this is like one of the big flashbacks, and I love it. It is a really good. It's one of those songs that almost feels like it was like not made by a person, just because it is so
almost ethereal.
Yeah, very, very angelic, just to the point at which it really like manages to bring home the feeling of like something major is going on here.
If a Portuguese angel showed up, this is what it would sound like.
Exactly.
Yeah, but once again, a beautiful piece, and this is one of the other ones where I would say, if I'm trying to show the soundtrack to somebody, this might be one of the ones, based on their musical taste, this might be the first track I have them listen to, depending on their tastes.
Do you wanna like rock out really hard with some heavy metal, or
Do you like Portuguese angels?
Or do you wanna
taking it easy?
So next up on the list is a song that when I first heard it, I just thought was okay, but then I read about its use in the context of the game and it became very fascinating for me. Having dinner / having lunch / having a meal, aka the song that you listen to when the characters are hanging out eating.
having lunch tonight?
This is really high on my list. I love that song.
This one musically was more middle of the road for me, but I really love its application in the game. From what I heard about the game is there'll be several scenes where the characters are just eating dinner and talking with each other casually, like the way you would with friends in real life. And it's not as intense or epic as the other dialogue scenes. It gives you a chance to loosen up, develop the characters more, see their relationships better, bond their friendships, and just give you that atmosphere of what it would be like to hang out at a table with them while they're eating dinner and the conversations you would see. And that's a really fun, unique thing, and I think it helps ground the game and give it a lot more reality to it.
What context did you think the song had that was a sudden shift in your interpretation?
Well, and I didn't realize it was a thing that they did more than once. I thought, okay, they eat one time, and there's like, well, no, like I didn't think they would do it as like a gameplay mechanic or something that recurs. Yeah. I just thought, okay, whatever. There's a dinner, or they're eating with some people, and there's some dialogue. But I didn't think it was to. I thought it was just them meeting with someone else.
Yeah, well, and that's the big thing, is that it is an actual gameplay mechanic. This actually has an early form of branching dialogues. And when you sit down, you actually choose who you're going to talk to. So everybody is sitting there just stuffing their faces, and they even translate it like they're like talking with their mouth full. So they'll like crunch in the middle of like talking. But they actually talk to each other about like different stuff. And so you can basically choose who you want to talk to. And some of the characters are like giant beast men, and some of them are like the little kid who's got magic abilities, and this priestess who's probably possessed with part of the demon Velmar herself. And so like getting to force them to sit down and talk creates some of the funniest moments in the game. And that's why I love this extremely like silly, like comically lighthearted song out of nowhere. Of literally sometimes they're like, "My brother, I believe that he's probably part of Velmar at this point. His hunger knows no bounds. Let's have
hunger
lunch."
Knows no bounds.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, it's a good thing I made stew. I love that about it.
So am I the only one who like just heard this one in a vacuum and said, "Yeah, I'm into this"?
Yeah.
This is like this is an old school video game song vibe, and
it's like
I'm
you in
into
shop theme. This is the shop theme of this game.
Shop theme of this game. I've been holding off on it the whole time.
Steve is a big fan of that song, and our guests on the Final Fantasy 1 episode were not big fans of that song.
They were not pleased.
What? I love that song.
They're so good.
Yeah, they're big metal guys. They're like, "Nah, man, it has to be aggressive, brah."
It is. It's excessively trying to get you to buy potions.
Yeah.
Aggressive sales.
You should probably get 6 or 7 of these, unless you're a pussy. Like, whoa, that's a little bit much.
How many can you hold at a time? 99? All right, buy 103.
If you break a finger, I'll give you half off your next potion. You'll still have to buy it, though.
All right, speaking of shopping, next up on the list we have Carbo Village, Highest Believers, because I assume you shop at villages. It wasn't a very good transition, but I attempted it.
That's good. That's
Oh,
good.
that was the one that I was waiting to play that for. So, I guess
Are you going to play it again?
if I can find it. Oh, there we go. And with that, our video is taken down.
Exactly. Yeah. Copyright.
Fair use and parody doesn't matter because,
Because bots can't understand that nuance.
right. So this, it's the first town theme you hear on the soundtrack when listening to it the way we did. And sets off a really cool vibe, very bouncy, very fun. I really love the synths. I mean, it begins with sort of like the pan flute thing, kind of reminded me of Jade Cocoon. And actually, what's coming to mind right now is Legend of Legaia, the old PS1 game. Just in terms of the different instrumentation and stuff used here, this seems like it would fit well on that soundtrack. And once again, bouncy, catchy, fun to listen to. And this, when I first heard it, it made me not sure what kind of soundtrack I was getting into.
Oh, yeah.
And it was hard for me to gauge what this game's overall sound was going to be. But, upon repeated listens, it became one of my favorite tracks and just a solid standout tune. So I like it quite a bit.
I think one of the strong points of this soundtrack is the village themes in general. Like, when we did the first two Final Fantasies, like we did the second one, right?
Yeah, we did 1 and 2.
We did 1 and 2. And one of the things that really got to me about those soundtracks is the village themes didn't seem like the sort of place you would want to visit or live. And
they're all very bittersweet and melancholy.
Yeah, they're all like, this is our village theme. 70% of our population was just wiped out by a plague.
Yeah.
Whereas Carbo Village is a really good realization of what I think a village theme should be. It should be some kind of like calm pastoral thing, like what it starts off with, or it should be a sort of bouncy, bustling thing, like, a town that, people are excited to get out of their farms and go to market day kind of thing. I think that's what village themes should be like.
Yeah, when listening to the soundtrack, I thought to myself, like, oh, Steve's going to like these town themes.
Yeah.
It has such great, like the town themes, like I was saying at the beginning, is definitely some of the best town themes of any RPG. And it's because they actually purposely, you stay in towns for a while. You don't just shop at a town and leave like you do 99% of RPGs. You actually have times where you have to walk around and investigate and figure out, is Velmar here? Is he possessing somebody? What's going on? Like each town has a different affliction to it. So I like that each one of them sounds so completely different. There's never, ever a town you go to and then another town you're like, oh, they recycled that song.
They recycled that chunk of Valmart.
I will say that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to when I do eventually play this game is, seeing those towns in the context of the game and seeing, the picture of the town I painted in my head based upon the music versus what it actually is in the game. I think that's going to be really fun for me to dig into.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of town themes, next up we have Commercial City of Lilligoo, Pretense of Prosperity. Man, this is like the Mario Party sounding song on this soundtrack. Like, this is just bouncy, fun. This is like either Mario Party menu screen or like a PS1 Mega Man game when you're in Dr. Light's lab. It's like, let me give you an upgrade.
Yeah.
I haven't played those games, but that's just what I imagine it sounds like.
This is one of my highest town themes of all of them, and I do love that it is just so like, hey man, hang out, talk to people. If you want to go punch a little kid, you could do that in this town. Like, wait, everything's okay. No, but like everything about that sound, this song is just so chipper.
That sounds like the dialogue in the first Fable. Remember, you can be good or evil.
Hello, Chicken Chaser. Would you like to chase a chicken?
Chicken Chaser. Oh, yeah, I got to get some of those as drops. I was Pie Master, personally.
Oh, yeah. I always got Chicken Chaser, and I could never get rid of that nickname all the time. Like, Chicken Chaser. Like, hooray, Chicken Chaser.
You had to buy nicknames. There were people who were...
I just got the automatic ones by accident because some were by behavior, and I just kick chickens all the time because I thought it was so funny. So they started calling me Chicken Chaser.
Oh, I thought that was the default. I ended up with Chicken Chaser too, but I assumed that that's just how the game started.
Maybe, I don't know.
Then I bought Pie Master because I looked at the other and I was like, I could be Avatar or Demon Face, but no, Pie Master. I can see someone's been eating all the pies.
That's so awesome.
Game had some very silly dialogue. But yes, commercial city of Liligue. This was my favorite town theme too. I thought this did a very good job of giving off the vibe of this is a city that is faux rich, like downtown Nashville or Vegas kind of thing, where we've got this glitzy facade of prosperity up, but if you really dig into things, there's a lot of pretty awful stuff going on in this town, and this music represented that idea very well to me.
Man,
this is Nashville, the song.
Yeah, you nailed that so expertly right there. Yeah, that is very much like what that town has going on. It's super impressive. You can pick that up from just the song, but yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
Song title a lot.
Yeah,
it seems everything looks so happy and like super. It's like this nice little like town, and everyone's like got literally like red painted houses. Everything's super like bright and colorful, and you start to talk to people, and you realize that everyone's cursed to not be able to taste because the tongue of Valmar is there. So literally everyone like lives these very like literal tasteless lives.
It's gotta make dieting super easy.
Well, the only thing that they can eat are basically like these beets, these like dates and beets, like roots stuff is the only thing. So all people just basically are eating themselves to death on these super low nutrient vegetables. They're the only thing that don't just basically drive them crazy because they taste like ash.
Oh, dang. That's unfortunate.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But hey, great synth line.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're at the second best song on the list. Fight, version 1.
Yeah.
So, Max, you ranked this as the best song from the soundtrack. Some of the YouTube comments I saw were ranking this as the only song from the soundtrack that matters. I disagree with that statement, but...
Wait, which version of Fight are we on? 1?
Yes, Fight version 1.
Okay.
I love it the most. It definitely seems to... I don't know, to just have like a visceral hype to it. You know, like the fights of the battle system in this game is the best like RPG battle system ever, in my opinion, just because of how combat flows. And I feel like the flow of this song is just so right along with it. Like you feel like you were just literally in a river of instruments, and I love that.
This one, you know, I think my problem with this one is that I had too many preconceived biases going in from other RPG fight songs and wanting it to be closer to that than just appreciating it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still very good, and upon repeated listens, I was able to get it. But in terms of fight songs, I think it's maybe like my third or fourth. You know, I think I like Battle with the Parts better, and I think I like the final battle better also. But this song, I've thought to myself, if I heard this song like 80 times playing this game, I'd be totally fine with it, and I would like it quite a bit. And so, you know, I can't slag it for that. It has a good melody, and maybe I wanted the melody to be a bit stronger, but it's still very good. I don't really have anything particularly bad to say about the track. It's very solid, and I think more time with it will make me love it more. But as it stands, it's a solid thumbs up from me.
Also, generally, my take is it was an intense and energetic song, had a solid melody, but it didn't seem like the sort of thing that would start to get distracting if you listen to it, you know, for hours on end while playing the game, which is pretty key. Is if the music is so prominent that it starts to get annoying, then it's failed. Yeah,
which definitely some stuff like some of the Star Oceans did that. It's just I would definitely use the word intrusive soundtracks at time, whereas this manages to be background that's extremely enjoyable.
Well, we're at the number 1 song on the soundtrack, but very briefly, I will try to go through this list quickly to see what the panel came up with. From the bottom to the top, Root of Evil Destruction, followed by Opening Act, followed by Ryudo Awakened, followed by Garmia Tower, followed by That Which Lurks in the Darkness, followed by Sky's Reminiscence, then A Farewell and a Decision, followed by That Which Lurks in Darkness mix version, followed by Elegy, followed by Traditional Song, The Villagers Chorus, followed by Nanan Village, Placid Nature, then The Mythical World, Valmar. Heh! They didn't even get to fight back! Memory of the Gods, full version. The Garden of Dreams, The Mysterious Girl. That Which Lurks in Darkness 2, Electric Boogaloo. The Broken Seal. Live, Live, Live. Memory of the God. Siren Kingdom Announcement, March. Cancao do Povo. Granas Sanctuary. Nightmare Village Miramu, A Good Unknown Anxiety. Collapse. Despair and Hope, Fight version 2. The actual best song on the soundtrack, Romance at a Windy Isle. Purification of Darkness, Battle with the Parts. Saint Time Papal State, Pious Believers. Serum Castle. Siren Kingdom, Prosperity and Freedom. Come on, let's travel. You won't be able to kill me just like that. Have faith in yourself. Valmar's Moon. In Town, Aegir, Cursed Land. Highway to the Dangerous Zone. Granasaber. Fight version 4, The Final Battle. Deus. Having Dinner. Carbo Village, Pious Believers. Commercial City of Liligu, Pretense of Prosperity. Fight version 1. But the best song on this soundtrack, according to this panel, Fight version 3, Middle Boss Battle.
Yes.
I love when like a middle fight song is the best song on a soundtrack because it's just like the best one, one from the middle. Sorry, it's only downhill after that. I hope you weren't looking forward to too much with the final fight or credits song.
Well, so here's the trick with JRPGs. Usually the best songs are the fight song. Yeah. Typically. Mm-hmm. And this, in my opinion, is the best fight song on the soundtrack. It has the most interesting melodic movement out of all of them. It feels sufficiently epic, sufficiently shonen, sufficiently believe in yourself, but also this battle is getting kind of dramatic and intense, and you might lose, but you still believe in yourself, and you're going to fight with all your might. Just a lot of emotion, intensity, and most importantly, melody is what makes this my favorite of the fight songs and why I ranked it as the second from the top for me, only beneath the Romance at a Windy Isle. So this great tune, great to jam to. I dug it. Fantastic.
I like that it seems to wind itself up so much. It just seems like almost one of those songs that you could like set it off on its own and it'll just keep going and going and going. Like it just is so high in every aspect, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes. And so it's one of those things where like even if I had to listen to that for hours, I feel like I would definitely still just be like, yeah, like things are still getting increasingly more badass.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, and like I said, just so many good musical moments throughout it. Just good keyboard riffs, good guitar lines, just so much energy going on throughout it, and it just the momentum keeps going. Like you said, it keeps building, and you don't get bored with it.
So was this one done with actual guitars, or was this MIDIs again?
Because it sounds like real guitars to me. I'm listening to it right now.
Yeah, because when I was listening to it, I found it kind of interesting that a lot of the instrumentation on this song sounded like the standard MIDI drums and things like that they were working with, but they had a lot of like wah and delay and other such effects.
What I think they did is they probably kept the MIDI drums throughout the entire soundtrack for consistency's sake.
Maybe.
And so they probably kept those MIDI drums, but it was still probably exported as an MP3 onto the disc itself, is what I would imagine. And that's what I would guess. Yeah. Just so they have consistent sounds. Like, why do the drums sound so much better on Boss Battle 3 than on the rest of the soundtrack?
Yeah.
They
which
didn't want to
allows them
stand
to do
out
that.
too much.
They did that high pass effect on the drums at one point, which, you know, is going to be very difficult to do in MIDI. But yeah, if you've got a sampled MIDI, or if you have a already exported and rendered MIDI drum, you can put whatever effects you want on it. They also had a delay effect later on that definitely sounded like it was replicated in MIDI, where it just like played the note and then played the note quieter. So this was, I really enjoyed this song from a technical standpoint of trying to figure out how they would have realized it without pre-recorded instruments.
Yeah, this has been fun in general because you guys have given me such a greater appreciation for, like, I've always loved this soundtrack, but it's more fun getting to hear it from an actual musician standpoint. It's like you guys point out parts of this that I never would have even understood, you know?
And I think that's why this is a really good balanced panel, because, you know, we have someone who's played the game and loved it for years, so you know the soundtrack inside and out. You've got, you know, two people looking at it purely from a musical level, but one of the musicians is a big fan of the genre, the instrumentation, and the tropes. And so I think the three of us together were able to really dissect this in, I think, a very interesting way that I don't think any one of us in isolation could have done.
I mean, if I just sat in a room by myself talking about this soundtrack for 3 hours, it would be pretty tedious.
Yeah, probably.
We'll do a special episode.
That's what friendship is for. Yay, shonenism.
Yay! Shonenism.
the best religion, shonenism. Praise be to Goku.
Give him your energy. He needs it. Okay.
Raise your hands if you believe in the Father and the Son, Goku.
So, Goku, Gohan, and dead Goku?
Bardock?
Goten? I don't know.
Father, the Son, and the Spirit?
Yeah. Well, that is our episode.
Good message to play us out on.
Right.
That's good.
Max, thank you so much for joining us. Were you happy with the panel's ranking? Were you surprised by it? What did you guys think of our ranking today?
Not surprised, just pleased all around. I guess I was subtly afraid that this is one of those things that through my gamer eyes I'd accidentally deified, but hearing actual seasoned people with an awesome band come in with their point of view and glorify it the way I had mentally was very satisfying. I don't know, this has been super, super fun, and definitely, I'm definitely going to play back through it now as soon as I get some free time.
And, you know, I'll say this, it was very difficult for me going through this thinking, do I like it because I'm such a fan of the genre and tropes, or is the quality of it really that strong? And at the end of the day, I honestly believe the quality of the material spoke for itself, where, you know, I pointed out the genre tropes I was a fan of, but it did enough unexpected things, and the melodies and compositions were so strong, I have to give it very high praise. I was very pleasantly surprised by it. I didn't know what to expect, and I loved it, and I was very happy with the panel's ranking, so I was cool with it as well.
I was a little surprised by how consistent we were in our opinions of this. Because there are so many things, panels like this tend to get really swingy, especially with a small number of people voting on it, but towards the bottom and the very top of this, we were all much more in agreement than I'd really anticipated with this. Less so at the bottom, but once we got to the top, everybody generally agreed that the best songs on this album were in the top 10, even if even if we didn't put them in the top 3 altogether, kind of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much again, Max. Where can people find you on the internet?
YouTube.com/DreamcastGuy. You can go there. I do lots of talks on modern gaming news, a top 10 show every single Thursday, and I kind of review everything that comes out. I'm always working on the next big game, so definitely tune in if you want something modern and different.
Yes, please like and subscribe to his channel. Yeah, please like and subscribe to his channel, and Steve, please use more drops all the time.
I use that one every episode, Greg. Have you not noticed that yet?
No, I haven't.
I only have one applause drop.
Steve, I'm old and senile. I don't understand things.
I forget this thing you did last week.
I'm going to be 30 in 2 years, Steve. I'm practically ancient at this point.
I too will be 30 in 2 years, just going in a different direction.
Well, and we are Lipstick. Find us at lipstickgeneration.com. That'll have links to all of our social media, YouTube, Twitter, all that fun stuff. You can find our podcast on iTunes under the Lipstick panel. And find us on YouTube. You can find the episodes on YouTube, as well as music videos and our songs. Thank all of you so much, and have a great day. Peace.
Have a good one.
Kicking bottom or what?